Before I get into this video, I want to talk about the God mode football that we've been playing for the last few years. And this is really something that started with games like 10-Yard Fight, Tecmo Bowl. These games, for some reason, set the standard of if you're going to play football, you have to see the whole field. BackBreaker has really been the first game that has completely broken the mold in terms of you don't see the whole field any longer. And obviously this has gotten a lot of people criticizing the game, but if you take a step back and you think about it, it's very unrealistic to read and react to the entire field. As a quarterback, you're given this ultimate control in terms of gameplay, from reading both defensive ends, the entire defense at once, and also being able to not only throw the ball, but to take control of the receiver and go catch it. Now, after you've played a game like BackBreaker, you realize that that might not be the best way to achieve simulation football, which is apparently what everybody who follows my channel, Apex, Versus, Brosales, Smitty, all these other channels kind of want. So, with BackBreaker, you're allowed to control slightly the trajectory of the ball. By no means are you guiding something like a missile that's going to fly right into the player's hands, but it forces you to make better decisions. It forces you to make much more restricted decisions in terms of game speed. So, for those people who are reading reviews or seeing people blast this game for the camera view, take into consideration the game of football and ask yourself if it's football you want to play or if it's some type of God mode you want to play. And certainly if you want to play God mode, then apparently a game like Madden or 2K5 or All Pro Football might be better suited for you. But with BackBreaker, it seems to be, at least from a camera angle perspective, much more bent on simulating football, although the gameplay is not there yet. So I want to talk about precision passing in this video real quick. I also want to talk about a little problem I've seen with some players in the secondary that, unfortunately, when you read a defense, you can see these little errors come out. So I'm dropping back to throw a pass here to Pierre Garçon, and I'm going to throw this right as he makes his break and is in the middle of both players. Now, I'm going to throw this into triple coverage, and like I said, I'm giving slight variation to the ball's path, and you can do that the same way you throw the ball, just by altering the right stick, and by no means, like I said, am I steering this ball, but I'm helping guide it away from the defender into the receiver's hands. Now, what I want to point out is the safety all the way on the left side of your screen. And while this camera loops around, you're going to see that he pretty much comes completely out of the play. And this is something I've noticed quite a few times. With the restricted view, I'm trying to figure out where the next hit is going to come from. And frequently, I've seen players I thought would come in to make a tackle or aid in a tackle not come into a play. However, this has been the most clear-cut evidence that there is kind of an issue with a player freezing in the field. You can see this player has not moved for some time. Okay? So when we follow this camera back around on the pan, you're going to see that linebacker's arm stays consistent. So we're going to go and take a look at what happens with the safety and make a judgment as best as we can. Now, one thing I really like about BackBreaker is the physics, which allow for things like this. And in any other football game, you're going to have shifting into tackles. However, in this game, you don't have it because of the euphoria-based physics. What happens is when this safety lowers his shoulder, he no longer has control over his path. He isn't looking at anything but the ground, and he's going to make contact with someone, albeit because of a juke, it's not going to be me. Instead, he hits his own player very hard. Something that happens not with a lot of frequency, but definitely happens in real football. You can see here I kind of shrug off an over-pursued tackler, but now you see a defensive tackle come in. And this defensive tackle is going to get his arm around my waist, and he is going to lift me completely up off the ground. Both my feet are now off the ground, and he is going to slam me down into the turf. A very realistic outcome in terms of a defensive tackle pursuing a wide receiver and making a waist tackle. Now, the one thing, like I said, I want to go back and talk about is this safety, who does not move the entire time this catch is being made, and in fact, we do not see him again until well after the play has ended. And you can see at some point he's going to come into the screen right there. Now, for those of you who say Dallas Clark might have been blocking him, they come in from completely different angles. So I'm technically not buying that quote-unquote excuse for the game. I think it is something that really with the restricted camera angle is hard to figure out or hard to know. But in this game, if you guys are out there and you're reading a defense and you see something weird and you wonder if a player maybe stopped pursuing you, go ahead and take a look at it, and then maybe we can see further on down the line if there is a problem with the game. I know the developers, especially the ones I've talked to, have been more than helpful at trying to take a look at the problems with the game and more than open in trying to fix them. So again, some great gameplay with this game, but a few niches here and there that I'm seeing that really make me wonder in terms of the pursuit angles, in terms of the tackling, what maybe is going on with some of these players.